There's a moment most people never talk about. You're sitting at your doctor's office. They hand you a tablet to fill out your forms. Everyone around you seems to know exactly what to do, but you don't. So you sit there doing the math in your head. Can I figure this out before someone notices? Or maybe it's even a family dinner. Your grandchild shows you something on their phone and you fumble with it. They're waiting. And in that pause, that 2-second pause, something happens inside you that has nothing to do with the phone at all. That feeling, it has a name. It's called tech anxiety. And before we go any further, I want to say one thing clearly. It's not your fault. Not even slightly. And I'm going to prove that to you today. I'm Michael, and this is episode 5 of the Mind and the Machine series here on Tech for Grownups. Let's be precise about what we're talking about, because tech anxiety isn't just mild confusion when an app updates. For a lot of people, it's physical. The heart rate goes up, your hands feel slightly unsteady. There's an urgency to figure something out before anyone sees that you haven't. And for others, it's behavioral. You put off calling the bank because they want you to use an app. You delay booking a medical appointment because the system is online and you're not sure you can navigate it right. You avoid situations entirely and then feel guilty for avoiding them. And underneath both of those things, there's something deeper, a quiet, persistent belief that everyone else has it figured out. They figured out the modern world, but somehow you missed that memo. The Stoics had a concept. It's called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of what can go wrong. The idea was that if you name the thing clearly, it loses power over you. So let's name this clearly. It's called tech anxiety, and it's a documented, measurable psychological response. Researchers across North America, the UK, and Europe have studied it extensively. Millions of people over 60 experience it, and the vast majority of them have never heard anyone say, "This is real," and it makes sense. Here's the mistake that most people make about tech anxiety. They think it comes from not being smart enough or not trying hard enough, and this one is the most damaging, being too old to keep up. None of this is true. The research tells a completely different story. There are 3 real causes, and not one of them is about you. The first is the speed of change. In the year 2000, a mobile phone made calls and sent texts. That was it. That was the whole job. But today, that same device in your pocket, it's a camera, a bank, a healthcare portal, a government services terminal, a social network, and a news station, also including a navigation system, all at once. And it updates constantly without warning, without a manual, and without asking your permission. The pace has been so relentless that even technology professionals struggle to track everything. You're not falling behind because you're slow. You're responding normally to a rate of change that is objectively overwhelming. Robert Greene would call this what it is. It's a system designed to move faster than any human being was built to absorb. The second is that nobody actually taught you. Now, I want you to think about that. When did anyone genuinely sit down with you and teach you how your smartphone works? Not show you quickly, not hand it back to you impatiently when you got confused, but actually teach you at your pace with real explanations and with room to ask the same question twice. Most people watching this video, the answer is never. And researchers studying digital literacy have found that older adults consistently receive less quality technology instruction than any other age group. Not because they're less capable of learning, but because the assumption in stores, in families, in institutions, is that they either don't need it or won't get it anyway. That assumption is wrong, dead wrong, and the anxiety that it produces is the direct result of a system that failed you. The third is that the stakes feel higher, and that's actually rational. When a 25-year-old makes a mistake on their phone, they shrug. They tap around until they fix it, but for many older adults, every click carries weight. What if I delete something I can't recover? What if I accidentally spend money? Or what if I give someone access to my account? Here's what I want you to notice about those. Those fears are not irrational. We've spent 3 episodes in this series alone talking about the scams specifically designed to exploit people through exactly those kinds of mistakes. So the caution you feel isn't weakness, it's a reasonable response to a genuinely dangerous environment. The problem is that when reasonable caution combines with a lack of proper instruction and a pace of change that never slows down, the result is chronic, exhausting anxiety about something you have to interact with every single day. Now, researchers studying tech anxiety in older adults have identified 4 things that consistently predict how much of it a person will experience. The first is simply age. Being older in a world built by and for younger people creates a baseline level of digital stress. That's systemic, not personal. The second is what psychologists call self-efficacy. It's your belief in your own ability to figure something out. And here's the most important thing I will say about it. Self-efficacy is not fixed. You were not born with it or without it. It shifts based on your experiences. Every time you tried to use technology and felt confused, dismissed, or embarrassed, your self-efficacy took a hit. But every time you successfully do something, even something small, it rebuilds. That is the entire point of this channel. Not to overwhelm you with everything at once, but to give you genuine wins that rebuild your confidence, one step at a time. The third factor is support. Older adults with patient, knowledgeable people helping them with technology, they experience significantly lower anxiety than those navigating it alone. So if you're doing this without that support, I want you to hear this clearly. This community is that support. The comments, the newsletter, this channel, you're not alone. And the fourth factor is knowledge itself, which contains the most important buried finding of all of this research. Tech anxiety is not permanent. It is directly reduced as familiarity increases. The more you learn, the less afraid you feel, not the other way around. Now, here's something that doesn't get discussed nearly enough. Tech anxiety rarely stays as anxiety. If it's left unaddressed, it slides into shame. And shame is a far more dangerous emotion because shame makes you hide. See, anxiety says, I'm worried I can't do this, but shame says, I am someone who cannot do this. Anxiety is about a task, and shame is about your complete identity. And when shame sets in, people stop asking for help. They start avoiding situations where their limitations might be visible. They decline invitations. They miss appointments. They pull back from services and communities because accessing them requires technology they don't feel confident in using. Now, in the UK, this is called digital exclusion. And in the US and Canada, researchers call it the digital divide. In Europe, it's classified as a public health concern, which it rightly so should be. Because when older adults are excluded from the digital world, whether by their own anxiety or by systems not designed with them in mind, the consequences are measurable. Reduced access to healthcare, reduced social connection, reduced independence. Now, tech anxiety quietly shrinks people's worlds, millions of them. and almost no one is talking about this. Now, I want to say something now that might make you angry, and good, it should. You should be. When older adults struggle with technology, the dominant cultural narrative puts all of the responsibility on them. They just need to take more of an effort, or it's not that hard if you really try, or my grandmother figured it out. But ask a different question. When a product is designed without considering older users, when the text itself is too small, the steps are too many, or the language is full of jargon, and the interface changes without warning, whose failure is that? It's not yours. Technology companies for the better part of 30 years designed their products for users between the ages of 18 and 35. That is the advertiser demographic they shot for. That is who they optimized for. Adults over 60 were an afterthought in many cases, not even a thought at all. So when you struggle with a product that wasn't designed for you, in a world moving at a pace that was never calibrated to include you, that is a design failure, not a personal failure. You are not failing technology. Technology and the culture around it has failed you. Now, I want to be direct here because this matters more than people realize. When you feel anxious and ashamed every time that you interact with technology, and for many people that's multiple times a day, your body runs a low-level stress response nearly constantly. Over time, that chronic stress is associated with disrupted sleep, elevated blood pressure, a weakened immune system, and a significantly higher risk of depression and social withdrawal. Now, researchers in Europe have found a direct, measured statistical relationship between the digital divide and worsening mental health outcomes in older adults. It's not a suggested connection, it's a documented one. And yet the solution being offered to most people is a YouTube tutorial that assumes you already know what half of the words mean. That is not enough. You deserve a lot better than that. I want to offer you a reframe. I want you to actually sit with this for a moment. Instead of thinking of yourself as someone who is bad at technology, think of yourself as someone who has adapted to more technological changes in a single lifetime than any generation in human history. You went from rotary phones to smartphones, from handwritten letters to email, from paper maps to GPS, from cash to contactless payment, and even from encyclopedias to the entire internet in your pocket, which is always on. That is not a person who can't learn. That is a person who has been learning relentlessly for decades. The fact that the current wave is moving faster than ever before is not evidence of your limitations. It is evidence of how relentlessly the world has accelerated. Now, Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. The outside event here is the pace of technological change. It's not in your control. What is in your control is how you move through it, deliberately, at your own pace, and with proper support. Now let's get practical. I'm going to give you 5 things, starting with number 1. Give yourself permission to go slowly. There is no rule that says you have to learn everything at once. Choose one thing, one app, one feature, one task, and learn that one thing well before you move on to the next. Slow, incremental learning builds the self-efficacy we talked about. Trying to absorb everything at once destroys it. Now, number 2, name the anxiety when it happens. When you feel that familiar tightness, say it out loud. This is tech anxiety. It's a normal response to a system that wasn't designed for me. It doesn't mean I'm incapable. This isn't positive thinking. It's a documented psychological technique called affect labeling. Naming an emotion reduces its intensity in the brain, and it works. Give it a try. Now, number 3, find a judgment-free environment. Libraries across North America and the UK offer free technology help sessions for older adults. Community centers and digital inclusion programs offer them too. These are spaces where you can ask the same question 3 times without anybody sighing. You deserve that. Now, seek it out. And 4, compare yourself only to yourself, not to your grandchildren, not to your neighbor who seems to breeze through everything. Compare yourself where you were 6 months ago, a year ago, and I can almost guarantee you that you know more now than you did then. And that is the only progress that matters. Now, number 5, talk about it. Shame survives in silence. It loses its power the moment you speak about it. It's spoken. Tell a friend, tell someone you trust, or you can even leave a comment below this video and say, I struggle with this too. You'll be surprised how many people say the same exact thing back. Now, here's what I want you to take away from this video. Tech anxiety is real. It's documented by researchers on 3 continents. It has measurable effects on your health, your independence, and your quality of life. And it was not created by a failure within you. It was created by a pace of change nobody prepared you for. A system that wasn't built with you in mind, and a culture that blamed the people left behind instead of asking why they were left behind. You're not behind because you're less capable. You're behind because no one built the on-ramp you deserved. That's what we're building here, one video at a time. Now, if this video resonated with you, leave a comment below. Tell me one moment when tech anxiety made you feel small. Not because I want you to relive that moment, but it's because I want someone else to see what your comment is, and they may feel less alone by seeing that. And that matters more to people than you know. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, a parent, a friend, a neighbor, share this video, because there's a very good chance they're carrying this quietly and have never heard anyone say it is not your fault. Now, next week, we're going to switch gears. We're talking about something genuinely hopeful, the surprising way that smartphones and technology, when used well, can actually protect your brain and reduce your risk of cognitive decline. The science is remarkable behind this, and it will change how you think about that device that's in your pocket. Now, I'm Michael, and this is Tech for Grownups, and I will see you next week. Stay safe out there.